The American people don't know what's going on in this country. The enemy's public. The country is going to hell. The enemy's public. It ain't black people sending it there. There is no mystery God. Absolutely no mystery God.
You are the future, and we are depending on you to unite to overcome your differences and organize a system under the set of principles that the original people of this planet follow.
The enemy's public.
I don't know how I got here. I just know I'm never going back. Just when I thought things were already crazy, it gets worse.
I'm back.
Quan?
Sapphire struggles to deal with her husband's alleged betrayal and coming to terms with Quan being alive after thinking he was deceased. Devante tries to keep a level head while dealing with family issues and unexpected disloyalty. Memories of Dre enters Devante's life in a way that he would have never imagined.
Fire Part 2, the finale.
Peace. This is the enemy's public. I am Bro.Nasir. I hope everyone are enjoying their evening. Going a little early this evening. We're going to hit a few topics today. Black fatigue, white on white crime, cover up, and civil liberties. Black fatigue is up first. What is it? Is it that our people are so out of control and lawless that those who are of the righteous allegedly are tired of us? Or is it that we are so self-destructive and detrimental to this society that we all should be locked away? Is it that we are 13% of the population of the United States but commit over 50% of the crimes in the US? The answer to that question is hell no. I'll tell you what I think black fatigue is. They tried everything. Despite everything they've tried, they just can't keep us down. We will not fall. They cannot suppress us. We won't be held back, which is why they exploit and magnify the one thing that we haven't gotten correct. And That one thing is the way we handle and treat each other, which is why the Israeli diaspora minister would say the biggest threat to Israel is the young black youth in America. This is what Nachman Shai said. Not because we're so terrible. It's not because we're so terrible. Salute to my brother P. Moses. Thanks for tapping in, good brother. It's not that we're so terrible. She see the potential in our young people, their potential as warriors, if they get their minds right. When they get their minds right, this is what they're afraid of. So they exploit, magnify, and cultivate the one thing that we haven't quite conquered among our people, our inability to work together. They exploit it because it's their last and final tool. Social media itself is a part of their scheme. We must consider that our enemy knew that some of us would behave the way we behave on social media. These people study us night and day, create social engineering experiments, introducing it to us as something new and innovative. I want to say that again. These people study us night and day. They create social engineering experiments, introducing it to us as something new and innovative, a craze, a trend. Now, just take for instance, the chicken sandwich at Popeyes a few years ago. All the media said was the people were acting fool over that sandwich. And guess what happened? The people started acting a fool over that damn sandwich, using subliminal suggestion on the easily manipulated among our people, playing on our emotions with the Charlie Kirk situation, making it about hate speech, which hate is anything that they don't want to hear that is critical of their behavior. It was freedom of speech when he was speaking his mind, or the lack of thereof, while they want to shut others up for exercising the same damn right. At the same time, make it what they want to call it, a safety issue, trying to convince the people. It's a dirty trick, and it's an old trick. They try to convince the people like they did during September 11th, showing it over and over again, trying to get the people, convince the people to trade in their rights for safety. And some of us bought it. And I see a lot of times the First Amendment auditors, the brothers and the sisters, the comrades that watch the police, that go around and they'll record the police, and the police will say, "Why are you recording in this secured area?" When it's a constitutionally protected, act that they're doing, the first thing they'll say, well, safety issues with 911 and everything. But 911 was damn near 25 years ago. But they'll still bring that up. Now, these people are wickedly wise. While those who call out their hatred are considered the haters. Or they'll tell us that we're using victimhood as an excuse, a narrative, while the wolves are charged with protecting the sheep. Wolves are in charge of protecting the sheep, the ones who are being led. Our enemies spare no expense on their propaganda. No expense. If you want to find out where corruption is coming from, all you have to do is follow the money. That's all you got to do. It's going to lead all the way to a rich white man. All you got to do is follow the money. Now, they'll take a college dropout like Charlie Kirk, put a lot of money behind them, fly him all over the world and all over the country to spread their message. It's their message. Turning Point USA was not the brainchild of Charlie Kirk. It was the brainchild of its donors. I'm going to say that again. Turning Point USA was not the brainchild of Charlie Kirk. It was the brainchild of its donors. And he pushed their narrative, their agenda. Now, so when you get off code with their agenda, after being given so much money, they see that as treason, betrayal, and traitorism. You know, there's something that's it's done among our people often. And it's something that we must stop. Some of our people serve to our detriment more than often. Something that we have to stop. We shouldn't play. We shouldn't allow ourselves to be played with. When it comes to the liberation and salvation of our people, foreign and domestic, we have to be uncompromising when it comes to the needs of our people. We get what we need as a people. Under no circumstance, or nobody will live in peace on earth if we don't get what we need as a people. So our division is propagated, is advertised, is exploited, and is magnified. And it's used as a form of entertainment, our division and the way we treat each other. They market it, they package it, and they sell it to us. Our own detriment and our own division, they sell to us. Because it's all they have. They exploit that. It's all they have. This is why they always make Chicago their focal point. Their talking points when it comes to our people. They'll mention Baltimore. They'll mention Atlanta. Anywhere our people are, not because they care, because it's useful justification. That's what it is. It's useful justification. While they run interference, their biases and hypocrisy is astounding. The media, the politicians, the lawmakers massively talked about and reported the woman being stabbed on the train and attempting to make us the face of violence, while they underreport the stabbings of our sister, Neil Wilson, who was randomly stabbed on a bus. As a matter of fact, that happened a while ago. This happened recently. White man stabbed two young sisters. But you don't hear nothing about that. They're underreporting that, and they're overreporting the Ukrainian woman that was stabbed. Nobody riding a train or bus should fall a victim to some idiot on a bus that stabs them. Nobody. But the basic biases that the media, the politicians, and the lawmakers have is ridiculous. Now, that was one of our many stabbings that year, and our brothers and sisters are being killed on trains, choked out, stabbed, and nobody's held accountable. White men don't like to hear or have a conversation about violence committed by white men. They say violence by us is a problem while ignoring the mass shootings, school shootings, domestic violence committed by white men, and school shootings committed by white girls and boys. Police officers murdering their girlfriend and wives. Their go-to excuse for the most part is mental illness. They don't say, oh, that's just pure evil, that these young men and women are natural born criminals, as Donald Trump said about our young people. But he said they won't even remember the crimes that they committed. He must have amnesia himself, because I do recall he being convicted of 34 felonies. I guess he forgot about the crimes he committed. Now, at the same time, while they mention mental illness when they commit crimes, they ignore the mental illness when it comes to our people. They respond to our people who have mental illnesses with police violence, ending with loss of life, approaching a situation with no compassion. In the state of New Jersey alone, for the past few years, even in the city that I'm in, people with mental illnesses are shot and killed by the police. Paterson, New Jersey, Jersey City, New Jersey, New Brunswick, New Jersey. People are being shot and killed by the police who have mental illness, and they don't even call people who are experts in handling people with mental illnesses. But the first thing they'll say when one of us do a crime, they talk about how evil it is. They can know emphatically that a brother or sister has a mental illness, but they'll be labeled evil. Someone can be on the phone, like in Paterson, where the man, he knows how the police respond. They respond violent. He asked them to not send the cops. They sent the cops anyway. He wanted the young lady's therapist to respond to her acting out. The police have to show up in case it gets out of control, but the therapists have to take the lead. The therapists have to take the lead who deals with mental illnesses, because most police officers are mentally ill themselves. So you can't have a violent person who's mentally ill, who's taking psychotropic drugs, who's violent as hell, responding to someone who has a mental illness. So when they arrived at the apartment, the same as they did at New Brunswick, they're antagonizing the person who's having the mental breakdown. They antagonize the person, knocking on the door, kicking on the door, like they are raiding a house who had, a gun raid or a drug raid. When it's not that type of situation, but that's how they handle it. Kicking the door, and when the person opened the door and came out, they shot her dead. They shot him dead. The elder sister in my city, when she came out, they shot her dead. But they never want to talk about the crimes they commit. School shootings. People going from one area of a state to another area of another state with a gun and shooting elders dead in a damn supermarket. They don't want to talk about that, but they'll mention how terrible we are as a people. And their go-to is, again, how we treat each other. They love talking about how we treat each other. They know damn well they don't care about us dying, and they don't care about us killing each other. They don't care about that. But that's their go-to when they are in a conversation with us. Why? They have black fatigue. Not that we're terrible, it's that they tried everything to destroy us and they just can't do it and they're tired. That's black fatigue. They're tired because they can't destroy us. Robin Harris was correct. We don't die, we multiply. We don't die. They tried everything. And look at us today. Just imagine if we were how we're supposed to be. We get it together on knowing how to act when we come among each other. Just imagine that. That's why they're worried. They're worried that we are close to getting ourselves together as a people. They're worried about that. That's something that they're worried about. There's definitely something that they're worried about. Us coming together and knowing how to act when we do come together. Once that happens, I'm telling you, once that happens, it's something to worry about. If you have it in your mind to do any of our people harm, that is definitely something to worry about. Peace to my brother Garrison. Peace to Sharon Walker. Peace to Straight Smoke. Thanks for tapping in. I appreciate it. But that is something to worry about. And let me tell you, they don't rest. They don't rest. While we're sleeping, they have people working night and day to come between us. Night and day to run interference to keep us going at each other on a daily basis. They promote it, they exploit it, and they magnify it. But these young people who are the warriors with no instruction, the warriors with no direction, the warriors with no discipline, they are so afraid that someone's going to have the voice to captivate them and stop them and pull them out their foolishness. They're worried about that. So that's why they talk the way they talk. They'll outright lie. They don't even care that we know that they're lying. They don't care. They don't care about that. They know we know now because Donald Trump is managing the fall of America. He's managing it, the fall of America. It's nothing they can do about it. This country have been weighed in a balance and found wanting. There's nothing they can do about it. It's done. And all of us who want to go down with a ship with a hole in the deck, keep your ass on it. Stay on it and go down with it. You want to put your faith in a damn politician thinking they have something for you besides death and destruction? What they always had for us since they've been running this country. I don't know what the thing is with our people today. It's like we are going backwards. We're going backwards. One step forward and two steps back is not progress. It's not progress. It's digressing. But some of us today, as brilliant as we are, would put our faith and trust in a damn politician. All politicians are wicked, left and the right. They're all wicked, and they're all bipartisan. All of them. Now, Cory Booker, he and Hakeem Jeffries and others took money from AIPAC, and they sold us out concerning a Charlie Kirk Day. They sold us out. They both signed that. Both of them signed that. I know Dr. Leonard Jeffries is turning over in his damn graves for what his nephew's doing. Took money from AIPAC. Both of them. And hold on one second. Give me a second. Trying to find this. Cory Booker he has his campaign money. He got campaign money from pro-Israel groups. Over his career, he received a substantial funding from the pro-Israel lobby. Between 2013 and 2024, he received $871,563. Major donors have contributed to Cory Booker's campaign, including the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, AIPAC, NORPAC, the Democratic Majority for Israel, DMFI. These groups bundle contributions from their networks of donors and funnel them to candidates they support. And to top it off, he and Leonard Jeffries, when they were voting to have this Charlie Kirk Day, they voted for it. That's why I say we can't trust politicians. My brother P. Moses said it correctly. They are two wings of the same unclean and hateful bird. And it's not coincidental. The bird that's the mascot of the United States is the predatory bird, because that's their mentality. Their mentality is predatory. So that's why they use the bird that is the vulture. And that's why their culture is of a vulture. Now, in 2025, Booker was in the minority of Senate Democrats who voted against a resolution to block the sale of military arms to Israel, despite growing concerns over humanitarian situations in Gaza. He voted against it. The Israel Anti-Boycott Act of 2017, he was the sole Democratic co-sponsor of this controversial bill, which aimed to criminalize support for the boycott, divest, and sanction movement. Critics viewed this as a restriction of free speech. They viewed it as a free speech. Now, October 2023, following the Hamas attack on Israel, Booker issued a statement condemning the violence and expressing solidarity with the people of Israel. And all the way up to today, he's taking money from them, despite what they're doing in Gaza, despite the crime against humanity, the genocide. Can't trust these people. I'm telling my people And I'm going to repeatedly say to my people that whatever a country don't condemn, they condone. I'm going to keep saying it. Whatever they don't condemn, they condone. They'll do it themselves. And what they're doing now is trying to take away from us the only means that we could defend ourselves vocally. Freedom of speech. I've never seen such lawlessness, such tyranny in all my life. Outright tyranny. A president who would fire capable people, calling them DEI hires, but he'll go put DEI hires as their replacement. Call them DEI when they're capable, but he'll replace them with DEI hires. And that's why everything he's doing is backfiring. The people of the United States, especially those who vote, should be upset. And we as a nation should be embarrassed that that's what represents us. That's the man who holds the highest office in the executive branch. And he's a goddamn buffoon idiot. A damn idiot. And then he's hiring idiots. He's hiring people he can control. Because he's running and overseeing all the agencies. And these people he's hiring are just sellouts and a bunch of untrustworthy ass politicians. J.D. Vance once spoke out and was real critical of Donald Trump. He hired him to shut him up. Kash Patel, the same thing. He was critical of Trump about those Epstein files. He hired him to shut him up. And right now, Kash Patel is catching hell now because he's covering up crimes. Donald Trump will put people in position to evade prosecution. This is a wicked, evil ass fucking nation, because how are you going to get convicted of 34 felonies and not get disqualified as a candidate? And when you go and get sentenced for your crimes, the judge postpone your sentence for 4 years. That's wickedness, and that's enabling. Just like in the state of New Jersey, Nadine Mendez, the wife of Senator Menendez, Nadine Menendez, the wife of Senator Menendez, they both were found guilty of taking bribes and corruption. He's a senator, she's the wife. They both was found guilty of that. He's doing 11 years. She was just found guilty and sentenced to 4 years in prison. But let me tell you how white privilege works. The judge told her she has to do 4 years. He sentenced her early this month. He told her she had to report to prison in July. Damn near a whole year from now. 10 months, she had to report to prison in July. How many of us would get sentenced to time in prison and the judge would tell us, okay, you're going to do 5 years in prison, but come back next year, report to prison next year, 10 months from now? That's white privilege. And she was a part of a cover-up. Vehicular homicide. Part of that cover-up, because she was the senator's wife. They covered it up. Supposed to do 10 years for that alone. Didn't do a date for it. Now, we're going to get into some videos. Let me turn this off. Going to get into some videos. And I'm going to do the narrative of the videos. The first video is Kash Patel. He's going to get confronted about the names, the victims.
FBI Director Kash Patel on the second day of the hearing, where he's essentially testifying and answering questions before the Senate Judiciary Committee. Actually, no, that was Congressman Thomas Massie. So this is not the Senate Judiciary Committee. I guess now he's testifying before members of the House. And I'm glad he's doing that, because Thomas Massie came prepared. He had a line of questioning that I found worthy of highlighting. And then more importantly, I think that Massie managed to catch Kash Patel in multiple inconsistencies. So we're going to show you that, but you just saw him name names. He just named someone who, according to the documents and allegedly according to Thomas Massie, was one of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. So that's pretty amazing. He's been willing to name names. He said, if the Epstein files are never released, the victims of Epstein's are willing to share the names with him, and he will basically make those names public. But I want you to hear more of what Thomas Massie had to say in his, in the lead up to his question to FBI Director Kash Patel. Take a look at this.
I watched some of your Senate hearing yesterday when Senator Kennedy asked you, you've seen most of the files, who, if anyone, did Epstein traffic these women to besides himself? You replied, according to the transcript, there is no credible information that he trafficked them to anyone else. You also said somewhere in the hearing and here today that the problem is that the case files are constrained by limited search warrants from 2006 to 2007, and that the non-prosecution agreement hamstrung future investigations. Those constraints only apply to the Southern District of Florida. They do not apply to the Southern District of New York, the location of the 2019 sex trafficking indictment, which produced many things, including a series of FD 302 documents. According to victims who cooperated with the FBI in that investigation, these documents in FBI possession, your possession, detail at least 20 men, including Mr. Jess Staley, CEO of Barclays Bank, who Jeffrey Epstein trafficked victims to.
Okay, so we're gonna get to Jess Staley in just a moment. We're gonna talk about who he is and what his relationship was with Jeffrey Epstein, because naming names is a big deal. And Thomas Massie, now on the second occasion, has been willing to do that. Before we get to that, though, we got to give Massie credit for calling Kash Patel out for the lie that he told when he was testifying before the Senate Judiciary Committee just yesterday. He essentially claimed, there's nothing we can do at this point. The investigation is over. He made it seem as though, as FBI director at this point, he's hamstrung. There's nothing he can do. You can't open investigations into Jeffrey Epstein's clients. But obviously, Thomas Massie just proved that is not the case. So what's going on here? Why are you refusing to not only release the Epstein files, which I think the American people should obviously have access to, there should be transparency by our government. But more importantly, if you know that there are Epstein.
You know, it should be transparency in the government, but in all actuality, they lie so much that we see right through them. So it's really transparency without them trying to be transparent. We see right through these devils.
Epstein clients, and these 302 documents list them. Why aren't you opening investigations into these clients who victimized minors? So I thought that was a telling moment, to say the least. Now let's talk a little bit about Jess Staley, who's one of the 20 people that Thomas Massey is referring to from these 302 documents. So basically the 302 documents, for those who don't know, are basically like the testimony that the victim shared.
This video is courtesy to of the Young Turks. Shout out to the Young Turks.
Through the investigation. It's a summary of all of that info, right? So he has those 302 documents. And so who is Jess Staley? Well, he did have a long-running relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. In 1999, Staley was the chief executive for JP Morgan's private bank. And he was also part of a team that managed money and investments for Jeffrey Epstein, with whom he quickly developed what is referred to as a fairly close personal relationship. And it was a close relationship. He went to the Jeffrey Epstein Island, vacationed with him, alleged that.
There's a lot of people who went to that island. Entertainers, lawmakers, politicians, you know, from people who own a luxury car dealership. So many people went to that island and was doing what they were doing there.
That he went on family vacations. I don't know if I believe that, but here's what else we know. Staley was soon holidaying on Epstein's private island, flying on his private plane and gaining access to an impressive portfolio of ministers, entrepreneurs, and royalty. The relationship ended up bolstering Staley's.
The crazy part about this is these politicians, these lawmakers, this law enforcement, these so-called elite people, especially the lawmakers and the law enforcement and the politicians, they talk about how terrible the little guys are when they catch and prosecute them. They talk about how terrible they are. Like, you know, take for instance, sex, money, and murder, like the little gang on the street. As bad as they are, they're nowhere near as bad as what these people do on a daily basis. They just don't do it in the continental United States like they do it. They'll just fly off somewhere and fly people off somewhere, and they'll do it there. The same with these other countries. They say, okay, they don't play that in that country. No, they don't. They'll take it somewhere else. They'll go somewhere else and do it. These people lock up the little drug dealer on the corner, or the little ring that's going on the corner or in the hood or whatever else in the inner city, but they do it on a massive scale, internationally.
Profile on Wall Street, and even connecting his daughter to senior figures at Ivy League universities. So you kind of get a sense of how things work for the insiders, right? Now, that relationship, though, also eventually ended up destroying Staley's career. Why is that? Well, in July of 2019, Epstein was arrested on child sex trafficking charges, accused of sexually exploiting and abusing dozens of girls at homes in Manhattan and Palm Beach, Florida. Some victims were as young as 14, US prosecutors alleged. So that drew attention to Epstein's friends, including Staley. By the time that this happened, right? By the time the 2019 arrest of Epstein occurred, at that point, Staley is the chief executive over at Barclays. It moved on. And so Barclays told the Financial Conduct Authority in October of 2019 that the pair did not have a close relationship and were last in contact well before Staley took over as chief executive 4 years earlier. That was not true. That was a lie, a total lie. A subsequent FCA investigation involving 102,000 emails from JP Morgan convinced the regulator it had been misled. It alleged that the pair were indeed close friends and stayed in touch via Staley's daughter for years after he joined Barclays. Now, keep in mind, I mean, this was the second time Jeffrey Epstein had been arrested. The first time was in 2006. So homeboy is still gallivanting around town, having a close personal relationship with Jeffrey Epstein after he was arrested for the first time. So he did stay in touch with Epstein after he was arrested in 2006. He even emailed Epstein, and apparently there's evidence of this, in 2008 to ask for financial advice. This is during the economic collapse in 2008. And so he was looking for, Jeffrey Epstein's consulting, I guess, in how to get through it. And since he lied to authorities about the nature of his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, Staley was issued a fine of 1.8 million pounds.
I hate scams, especially the ones that target seniors, and Medicare is chock full of them. Between commission-hungry brokers and thousands of confusing plan options, most seniors aren't on the best plan for them. That's why we partnered with Chapter. They're fully independent and they work for you, not the insurance company.
Asked Patel about the clients who were later identified by victims in the 302 files. So again, the 302 files refer to FBI Form FD-302 documents used by agents to summarize interviews with victims, witnesses, and suspects. So that's what he's referring to. And he has that documentation and he wants to ask Kash Patel about it. Let's take a look at what Kash Patel has to say.
That list also includes at least 19 other individuals, one Hollywood producer worth a few $100 million, one royal prince, one high-profile individual in the music industry, one very prominent banker, one high-profile government official, one high-profile former politician, one owner of a car company.
I wonder who that music executive is. I wonder who that is. Got a pretty good idea, but I wonder who that is. And because it's probably someone who left this country and now living somewhere else. It's probably that person who got out of here.
Company in Italy. One rock star, one magician, at least 6 billionaires, including a billionaire from Canada. We know these people exist in the FBI.
A magician. Wow.
Files, the files that you control. I don't know exactly who they are, but the FBI does.
That's fascinating. So there you have Thomas Massie, again, in possession of the 302 files, descriptions of the clients. So again, obviously, through this line of questioning, Thomas Massie has caught the FBI director in yet another lie. Because what was the initial lie that kind of snowballed into the mess that the Trump administration is currently dealing with? Well, they promised to release the Epstein files, and then out of nowhere, you have a statement coming from the Trump administration alleging there is no client list. There were no clients. There's nothing to see here. That was a lie. That was very clearly a deception by the Trump administration to the American people, and it's pretty gross. So what does Kash Patel have to say about that?
Have you launched any investigations into any of these people, and have you seen these 302 documents?
Sir, I have asked my FBI agents to review the entirety of the Epstein files and bring forth any credible information. And we're working with Congress not only to divulge that information and produce it to you, but any investigations that arise from any credible investigation will be brought. There have been no new materials brought to me launching a new indictment.
That did not in any way satisfy Congressman Massie. He kept pushing. And this is where I believe Kash Patel gets caught in yet another inconsistency, another lie. Take a look.
So is the loophole here, or is it your assertion that these victims aren't credible, that the 302s maybe didn't produce credible statements that rise to a probable cause?
It's not my assertion, sir. It's the assertion of two different United States attorneys' offices from three separate administrations who investigated those same materials in lifetime.
Are the 302 documents in the FBI's possession?
They reviewed all that, yes, sir.
And so have you reviewed those 302 documents that where the victims name the people who victimized them?
If I personally know, but the FBI has.
So how can you sit here and in front of the Senate?
What I can't understand is if these people are naming who victimized them, why isn't there any arrest happening? It should be arrest happening. If they reveal who victimized them, they should make some arrest. But the people who victimized these young people are quote unquote elites.
Senate and say there are no names.
I said,
I named one today.
I said, we are not in the practice at the Department of Justice FBI of releasing victims' names. That is not what we do. We are also not in the habit of releasing incredible information.
I don't understand. You say you won't release the victims' names. I can understand not releasing the victims' names, but you should release the perpetrators of these crimes' names. Their names should be released because they should be walking out of wherever they're at in handcuffs.
Information. That's not what we do. But multiple authorities have looked at the entirety of what we have.
You have to admit that moment was incredible. What would Kash Patel, prior to entering the Trump administration, have to say to anyone else?
He has a perfect name, Kash Patel, because he's been paid off, he's been compromised, and he was hired so he can shut up. Because prior to him becoming the FBI director, he was very critical of those who wouldn't. He was very critical of the past FBI director for not releasing those files.
Previous FBI director making the same argument before the House Judiciary Committee. Oh, he would definitely excoriate that person, accuse them of being part of a cover-up, because that's what this is. It's a cover-up. How do you say that there were no clients when you haven't? I mean, he just admitted right there that he hasn't reviewed the documents that previous administrations. Let me get the exact wording that he used. He basically places the onus on two different US attorneys' offices across three previous administrations. Okay, but you're FBI director. Why don't you review the alleged
Because he will be fired. If he did that, he will cover up or he will be fired. He'll pull the line or be fired. Donald Trump don't want nobody around him that he can't control.
Conspirators of Jeffrey Epstein's. Why don't you consider bringing charges forward? And more importantly, what's stopping you? What's stopping you? Man, Kash Patel is not good at this. We used to have more sophisticated liars in the administration, and that's the thing. We're really having a competency problem in this country, even when it comes to federal liars. And I guess that's a good thing, at least for the American people, because now we can actually see it happening in real time.
The point is that they don't care that we know they're lying. They don't care about that. They know that we know, but they're just going to lie in our face. And being that we have Donald Trump as the president, he's putting people in place that were total lying. That's it. People he controlled is in charge of every agency, every federal agency that's federal. Every agency that's federal. He's in control of it. He's putting his people in place to evade any type of trouble that he can get in.
When we're being deceived, but that's what's happening here. And for whatever you might think about Thomas Massey's libertarianism and his stances on other political policies, you got to hand him a lot of credit for demanding justice for Jeffrey Epstein's victims and wanting transparency on behalf of the American people. That's what a leader does. And he deserves respect for that. I respect him for doing this. His line of questioning to me.
We're gonna move on to some more questioning, because a lot of people were a lot more.
The gentleman from New York
hard on
Mr. Patel,
Cash Patel, than this previous person who was questioning him. They were a lot harder on him with their questioning, and they raised some very.
Does Donald Trump appear anywhere in the Epstein files?
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
It's not a complicated question. Does Donald Trump appear anywhere in the Epstein files?
I didn't say it was a complicated question. I just didn't hear you, so my apologies. We have released where President Trump's name's in the Epstein files and everybody else, and all credible information that we are legally allowed to release has been released.
All right, so let's go through that. You're referring to court orders that prohibit you from releasing grand jury testimony under Rule 6E. Is that what you're referring to when you say as the law allows?
That's a piece of it.
Really? What other evidence do those 3 court orders you cited prohibit from being released?
Information that was collected pursuant to those search warrants that were limited in fashion.
Wrong. That's not what the court order says, and that's not under 6E.
And you're talking, and I said that's 6E, and I said there was others, and I'm answering that. There are sealed court order documents. There are protective orders.
They are unsealed as part of discovery given to.
He will not answer a simple question. This man is asking him simple, specific questions, and he just won't answer them. He evades every question he's asked. Some of these questions are yes or no answers, and he'll rather say more and give a word salad instead of just answering the damn question.
To Ghislaine Maxwell, they are no longer sealed.
That's just not true. We can argue about it all you want.
Okay, well, you agree that there are. So your testimony here is that the reason why you are not releasing all of the videos that you have acknowledged, there are so many, and that the FBI spent thousands of hours of reviewing, the photographs, all of the photographs that you have. You're saying that you're not releasing those because there's a court order requiring them to be sealed? Is that your testimony?
Never said that about the videos. On the totality of the videos, of the thousands of images that were seized pursuant to the search warrants executed at the time, the overwhelming majority of that video is pornographic material that was downloaded from the internet and child sexual abuse material. We will never release that.
Well, as you should not.
Nobody's talking about releasing that. They want the names of the victims, and they want the name of the people who are supposed to be prosecuted and brought to justice. See, he's evading the questions.
Not release the victims, but if there are videos that relate to others who Epstein trafficked to, such as maybe Prince Andrew, or photographs, that you have total control to release.
Yes, and if it exists.
And so why haven't you released it?
Why are you supposing that that is a fact when in fact it is false? Are you saying that?
You're saying that none of the videos relate to anything relevant to the Jeffrey Epstein trafficking ring?
Every single video that we have collected pursuant to the prior search warrants has been examined for the last 10 years. And every single video has been utilized for whatever prosecutions were able to be legally brought.
I'm not asking about prosecutions. I'm asking about why you aren't releasing the full Epstein files, including the names of people who were involved in the sex ring that you promised to do before you became FBI director.
I just told you, I'm not going to release downloaded porn.
I'm not asking about that. Fine. I'm asking about all the other files.
What other videos? Tell me. Tell me.
That's what I'm asking.
Tell me.
You're saying there are no videos that would be relevant to anyone else involved in the Jeffrey Epstein sex ring.
Pursuant to Mr. Acosta's collection of information based on the search warrants. That's all we have in our possession.
And I'm asking you that stuff.
That's all we got.
I'm not asking all you got. I'm asking you in that stuff. There's nothing that's related to the to any other sex traffic, any other people engaged with Epstein in underage sex?
That's correct. To my knowledge, no.
Okay. Let's talk about the witness interviews. 302s of witness interviews. Those are not subject to the court order. Those are not subject to any fictional sealed order for a search warrant. Why aren't you releasing those with the redacted names of the victims?
We are releasing as much as legally allowed. That's why we went back to
how is that? How is that not legally allowed?
Sir, do you know how court orders work? Do you know how protective orders
Actually,
work? You know
Mr. Patel, I was a prosecutor, a real prosecutor for 10 years. I know exactly how.
So I was a fake one?
And I want to understand what the court order prevents you from releasing witness statements that the FBI took.
You should know that as a real prosecutor, when the court hand downs a protective order and a motion to seal, the material is sealed unless that
your
judge
testimony
waives
here
it.
is that all of those witness statements are under a court order, a protective order.
We are providing everything we can legally provide.
No, that's not my question. My question is, why are those witness statements that are not grand jury testimony, that if they were under a protective order are no longer under a protective order, why are they not being released?
How are they not under a protective order?
Why are you not going to the court like you did for the grand jury testimony to unseal those records?
The DOJ did go to the court.
No, not on those records. Why aren't you going? You just went on grand jury.
Time of the gentleman has expired.
You are hiding the Epstein files, Mr.
That's what he's doing. He's hiding the Epstein files. He is covering up for those who are involved with the child trafficking.
The gentleman has expired.
You are part of the cover-up.
Can I respond?
Sure can.
Any allegations that I'm a part of a cover-up to protect child sexual trafficking and victims of human trafficking and sexual crimes is patently and categorically false in the work of my.
So I hope you will talk to them when they have.
This should be simple. This should be absolutely simple. You got the goods on who's involved. Arrest them and bring them to justice. Anything outside of that is a miscarriage of justice and a cover-up. Period.
Requested to speak with you because the victims have requested and you are not responding to them.
Now, we're going to go to...
Man, oh man, there has been so much today, and I truly don't know where to start.
We're going to go to Jasmine Crockett, and she's going to put her foot all over this dude. Put it that way.
So I'm just going to make sure that we start off with a few facts. So a couple of facts that we need to make clear for everyone is that, number one, Director Christopher Wray.
This video is courtesy of Roland Martin, uncensored. Shout out to Roland Martin.
When he was appointed to be the head of the FBI, was appointed by Donald Trump. Now, I will agree that I definitely take issue with a number of decisions that Donald Trump makes, especially when it comes to the people that he decides to appoint to very important positions, including this one, because I did have to make sure that I wasn't going crazy. But when I say that you are the least qualified FBI director in the history of the FBI, that is real, because you are the only one that never even served with the FBI prior to joining. Yet we are supposed to believe that you are the greatest thing since sliced bread. I didn't ask you a question. Now, what I want to go through is to talk about why you are a failure and why, honestly, we just need to tell you bye-bye. I know that you got a little upset and you put on your show for your boss because it seems like you're trying to save your job when it came to talking to Senator Booker yesterday. But let's go through some of your failures. So before you were even confirmed, and I think one of my colleague from Georgia pointed out that you are already targeting career officials so that you could direct illegal firings. Mind you, these cases that you were so upset about, which are the ones tied to Trump, the cases came through his handpicked FBI director. And frankly, when people sit around and say things like, oh, you know, we're happy because now we feel safe. I don't know who feels safe in this country except for the white supremacists, because I specifically as a Black woman definitely don't feel safe.
Now, what she's saying is absolutely correct. They brag about how they're making the United States safer when things have escalated in the United States as far, police shootings, school shootings. Not a damn thing changed. And the areas where crime is down, that was the result of the local police in conjunction with the people who are governing that particular city. Not Donald Trump, not the National Guard. He's sending people, he's sending National Guard to cities and areas where crime is down already and taking the credit for it.
And frankly, my colleagues have been real nice to you today, and I applaud them, but I don't have the same demeanor because I know that multiple colleagues on this side of the aisle have faced death threats. In fact, somebody tried to kill one of my colleagues, and frankly, I don't know if this FBI or under your leadership, if those people would have been caught. I don't have any confidence in you. And if we start talking about the reasons that I lack confidence, we could start with you not just wanting to acknowledge some simple facts. Simple facts like the vast majority of the threats are coming from right-wing extremism. And I know my colleagues have tried to stress this, but I decided that I would maybe do it in a different way. Number one, I have a couple of UCs. Kim Buck, one of multiple Republicans receiving death threats for voting against Jim Jordan as House Speaker.
Without objection.
Another one, Republican lawmaker says she received death threats after voting against Jim Jordan in Speaker's race.
Without objection.
In addition, there was another one from another colleague who now is leaving Congress because they said that they were calling his wife anonymously and threatening her life to
the point that the people are leaving. This is the corruption and the lawlessness that's going on in the executive branch of government.
Extent that she ended up sleeping with a firearm.
Without objection.
Okay, so here's the deal. How are we supposed to have confidence when you're sitting up here telling the Senate yesterday that it will take you 14 years before you can get the FBI fully staffed to do their jobs? You're also now redirecting resources
Because they terminated the credible, competent agents that they already had, for the lack of better words, and are replacing them with people that they can control. 14 years to staff the agency. Now that is what you call, to even suggest that, it's mere incompetence.
So that they can go and play ICE agents on the streets. You're getting rid of your most qualified people. And even when it came down to somebody,
Run that
you
back.
can get the FBI fully staffed to do their jobs. You're also now redirecting resources so that they can go and play ICE agents on the streets. You're getting rid of your most qualified people. And even when it came down to somebody that you consider to be a friend, you were posted up having some fancy dinner, to the extent that you posted not only once erroneously, you posted twice erroneously as it relates to catching somebody. And then you want to go and say, let me take a victory lap. Because honestly, if it wasn't for parents deciding that they were going to turn in their child, it seems like y'all wouldn't have got there, even though he literally confessed online. So I'm confused about what it is that the FBI is doing, except for trying to put on a show for the apprentice, or whatever you want to call him.
And that's what it is. Putting on a show for Donald Trump. Showing presence in cities that's already have crime down, and Donald Trump is taking the credit for making us safe.
The day after all of this took place, there was domestic terrorism that was taking place at HBCUs. They were targeted. Yet I didn't hear anything from the FBI about what was going on. And
Exactly. A white man kill another white man. They get angry and target HBCUs. They blame us for everything.
And again, Black people kept saying, how did we end up in this? Because the numbers are so very clear that white supremacy is a problem. And honestly, I've not heard anything out of you today that makes me believe that you're going to do anything about the white supremacy problem. The one that is leading to children being killed, children being shot, as well as members of their community as they're worshiping in their churches.
The time of the gentlelady has expired. If the gentleman would like to respond to any of that. Well, I mean, I'll respond. Kash Patel, as I said when I introduced him, public defender, former prosecutor, top staffer on the House.
He wasn't supposed. This is how lawless these people are. She was directing her questions to Kash Patel, but this dude feel like he is supposed to respond to what she said.
House Intelligence Committee, Deputy Director of National Intelligence with the National Security Council, Chief of Staff at the Department of Defense, and FBI Director. I think that's pretty good resume for the guy who's now running the top law enforcement agency in our country. And we've seen all the.
That don't make him competent, because you can read those bullshit accolades. That don't make him competent. He's showing his incompetence and his evasiveness by allowing you to speak on his behalf, and when he's sitting right there.
All the stats that he's given to the committee on how much better they're doing at getting the bad guys than the previous guy was doing. With that, I recognize the gentleman from South Carolina.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Patel, I think you're witnessing some auditions, clickbait auditions.
I'm not going to listen to this crap, but I'm going to show an example of who they.
Well, it's a gang that goes by the name Sect.
I'm going to show you who they target. They target the little people, okay, with racketeering, with sex, money, murder, exploitation, child trafficking, you name it, drug dealing. They target the people in the inner city when the government, they're guilty of the same exact thing on a much higher level, but they'll target people who standing on the block and have some little bullshit ass ring. They probably make a lot of money, but it's nothing compared to what these politicians and these lawmakers, these legislators and these entertainers are doing.
Money, murder. And Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd says that's how its members live. But thanks to a major operation, they've dismantled part of that group here in Florida, and at least a dozen of them could be looking at life in prison. Fox 13's Josh Cassio following the story from Polk County, and the sheriff is calling these gang members really dangerous.
You know, Cynthia,
they are not as dangerous as the people who carried out that hit on September 10th. I don't like Charlie Kirk. I'm going to vocally say it. I don't give a damn about him, but it's some dangerous people who carried out that hit. Dangerous.
he did call them very dangerous people who had really no regard for human life. You know, sex, money, murder. It wasn't just the name of this gang. It was really their mantra, or the motto that they lived by. And after more than a year.
Exactly what these people who go to Epstein Islands and other islands to do what they're doing to this day. You close one island, they open up another one, and they're doing the same exact thing that of these people who are being prosecuted in Polk County are doing: sex, money, and murder. Same exact thing.
Year of investigating tonight, at least 41 alleged members of the gang have been either arrested or charged, and likely more is on the way.
This gun will never be used again by a sex, money, murder person.
Guns, drugs, and ruthless violence. It's all said to be part of the day-to-day life for members of these sectors.
For members of the United States government in this constituents. Sex, money, and murder, you know, as KRS-One said, illegal business control America.
Money murder gang.
Well, think about this. They went into one home invasion and pistol whipped an 8-year-old child. Did you hear what I said?
Tuesday, the sheriff, alongside members.
Yeah, I heard what you said, Sheriff. I do recall, you know, Detroit Police Department busting into a house and shooting a 7-year-old Aiyana Jones in the head and killing her and didn't do a day in prison. So I know what you're saying, Sheriff.
Members of several organizations announcing they'd essentially gone after the head of the snake by dismantling the gang's hierarchy in Florida. 41 alleged members arrested or charged, including 12 facing racketeering charges, which, when coupled with gang activity, could put those folks away for life.
If they're not in prison, they're robbing, shooting, and killing. They're just going to.
Evil must be contained. And that means taking dangerous people out of our communities and putting them behind bars.
So if half the police were doing their job, the other half of their department would be in prison also. Attorney generals would be in prison for malicious prosecution, false prosecution. Senators, congressmen would be in prison. Sheriff deputies, sheriff officers, sheriffs, chiefs, lieutenants, captains, patrolmen would be in prison if they were doing their job truly. I'm not saying that civilians don't commit crimes, but on a much higher level, those who say they serve the people commit more crime. That's why I say the enemy's public.
Where they cannot hurt anyone else.
As part of the investigation, detectives used what the sheriff called a gang wiretap, or T3, a first in Polk County. Members basically informed on themselves.
Oh yeah, gang members, listen up. We can intercept your social media. You can't pay attention to all that hype you hear. We got it, and we got them because of it.
The Sex, Money, Murder Gang is a national organization. It's an offshoot of the Blood Gang. Investigators also took down leaders of North Carolina's chapter.
They're so ruthless. They're so dangerous. We need to bring to the community's attention what...
You know, it's crazy how they magnify this as if white people are not doing this on a much higher level, a much more sophisticated level. They'll show this day in and day out as if they're not doing it themselves. Even government officials, lawmakers, law enforcement are involved in this.
They are doing.
And the sheriff says the investigation is still ongoing. They expect to have more arrests and more charges in the future. We also know they're still looking for at least 2 alleged members of the gang, including the head of the gang here in Florida. He is 36-year-old Hernando Thompson Jr. From Orlando. And Cynthia, get this, his nickname, he goes by T-Murder. Go figure. Anyone with information should contact police. Back to you.
That is all scary stuff, but
I'm going to prove that they're involved in this too. White folks do the same thing.
Tonight on the 10 o'clock news, this suspected leader of a notorious violent gang in Florida has been captured in Hastings thanks to a joint effort by the St. Johns County Sheriff's Office and Broward County Sheriff's Office. 23-year-old Andrew Mariano was arrested when the two agencies raided his home. Investigators say Mariano is one of 10 suspected senior leaders of the sex, money, murder, blood gang known as SMM.
SMM is a set of the Bloods street gang that operates along the East Coast. News4Jax reporter Eric Gavigne joining us now with more on this major gang investigation. Eric?
You know, Joy, it's amazing to see how far this investigation stretched and how many jurisdictions actually got involved with this. Now, this is a multi-year investigation led by the Broward County Sheriff's Office. The investigation started in South Florida with the arrest of 2 commanders of the sex, money, murder, blood gang. Their arrest led to the investigation expanding into Central and Northeast Florida. The 10 names on this list have been identified by law enforcement as leaders of the sex, money, murder, blood gang, or SMM. All 10 suspects are now facing charges related to racketeering, which includes underlying offenses of conspiracy to commit murder, directing gang activity, and money laundering. 23-year-old Andrew Mariano of St. Johns County was the 10th suspected SMM leader taken into custody during a raid on his home in Hastings. The home is located somewhere behind the security gate. During the raid, large quantities of vacuum-sealed drugs were also discovered. The discovery of drugs during Mariano's arrest was expected because, according to the Broward Sheriff's Office, the lead agency investigating sex, money, murder, blood gang, the arrest of other suspected leaders led to the discovery of illegal gun and drug trafficking, fraud, conspiracy to commit murder, and even a kill list of the gang's intended victims.
To see a real... Sounds very familiar. Very familiar.
Life kill list. Retired JSO Director of Investigations turned News4Jax crime and safety analyst Tom Hackney.
If you go to the Pentagon, you will see a real life kill list also. So don't think that, these people are the most terrible people in the United States.
He was intrigued by the discovery of an actual kill list and what investigators did to protect the people on that list.
They released information that they've actually contacted potential victims and really saved their lives. And to have a real true life kill list from a group that's very capable with a history of committing murders and committing crimes like this, that's pretty shocking.
SMM is one of the original subgroups of United Blood Nation, also known as the East Coast Bloods. SMM began inside a Bronx, New York housing project during the summer of 1996. The gang eventually expanded along the East Coast down to Florida.
This is unlike the gangs that we're used to talking about here in Jacksonville.
This is outside of what typically is thought of here in Jacksonville with gangs. This has a connection with the blood gang, and that's a nationally recognized gang that's got a very, very long history of violence and drugs.
Now, the threat of SMM is so prominent that even though the Broward Sheriff's Office is the lead investigating agency in this open investigation, they're still receiving help from 7 other counties, including the FBI. Meanwhile, all 10 suspects who were arrested will face trials in Highlands County. Live in the studio, Eric Gavigne, Channel 4, the local station.
We move on from this.
By the name Sex, Money, Murder. At Polk
I'm
County
gonna
Sheriff
move on.
Judge said.
I'm going to move on from this.
Today in Savannah, the FBI announcing the indictment of dozens of people in what they say is a
crackdown in Florida on a notorious street gang, Sex, Money, Murder. The year-long multi-agency investigation started in Polk County, but it would end up taking down.
Yeah. I'm going to go to...
The gentleman from California is recognized.
Thank you, Director Patel, for being here today. The FBI searched Jeffrey Epstein's Manhattan residence, correct?
I believe that happened in 2018. I think there was 2 locations, sir.
It's 2019, and in that residence...
This is the Rep. Ted Lieu. He's confronting the FBI Director, Kash Patel, on his incompetence.
The FBI found a safe, correct?
I don't have the catalog of evidence in front of me.
In that residence, the FBI found a safe, correct?
I'll accept your representation.
Okay. And in that safe, the FBI found topless and lewd photographs of girls, correct?
Again, sir, I'll accept your representation. I don't know.
Thank you. It was all over the media at the time. There's a New York Times article that says Jeffrey Epstein is indicted.
What I can't understand is if he's the FBI director, he's saying he accept his representation, like whatever you say. In other words, why don't he know emphatically what was found in those safes? Or is he just being evasive because of the line of questions from Representative Ted Lieu?
Indicted on sex charges as discovery of nude photos is disclosed, dated July 8th, 2019. And the Times reports a trove of lewd photographs of girls was discovered in a safe inside financier Jeffrey Epstein's Manhattan mansion. Author Michael Wolff has conducted numerous interviews of Jeffrey Epstein. I'm going to play for you a video clip of what Michael Wolff said Epstein told him was in the safe and what he showed the author was in this safe. So let's please play that clip now.
Elected. I was sitting talking to Epstein and he said, wait a minute, I got to show you something. And then he went into his safe and he came out with photographs. They were Polaroids, I think. And he kind of spread them out like playing cards. And it was Trump. I mean, I think there were a dozen of them, and it was Trump with girls of an uncertain age at Epstein's Palm Beach house, where all of the things that he would ultimately be accused of took place. And I remember very vividly 3 of them. There are 2 in which Trump is, the girls, topless girls, are sitting on Trump's lap. And then a 3rd in which he has a stain on the front of his pants, and the girls are kind of pointing at it, sort of bent over, laughing.
So Director Patel, I'm going to ask you a very broad and general question. As you know, Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein were friends. There are, of course, photos showing Donald Trump together with Epstein, correct?
I don't have the entirety of the photographs, but I think they've been photographed in public together.
All right. Are there any photos showing Donald Trump with girls of an uncertain age?
No.
How do you know that?
Because that information would have been brought to light by multiple administrations and FBI investigators over the course of the last 20 years.
Well, you know what? That's just not true, because no one knew about the creepy birthday message that Donald Trump wrote to Jeffrey Epstein until the Wall Street Journal disclosed it. And then all of a sudden, the Epstein estate provides it to Congress.
Well,
so certainly you weren't there at the search. You don't know what Epstein may or may not have done with those photographs even prior to the search. Maybe someone has it. Maybe the Epstein estate has it.
You raise a great point.
So I'm going to ask you, have you asked to talk to Michael Wolff?
You raise a great point. I haven't personally asked to talk to Michael Wolff.
Has the FBI asked?
But the FBI, I'll get back to you if the FBI specifically
So Michael Wolff has
ever.
about 100 hours of testimony of Jeffrey Epstein. Wouldn't it be good for the FBI to interview Michael Wolff?
I'm not saying they haven't. I just don't know.
Has FBI subpoenaed the tapes that Michael Wolff has conducted of Jeffrey Epstein?
I don't know.
All right. So if you could provide us an answer, that would be terrific. Sure. Well, let me ask you this question then. Have you looked at all the photos in Epstein files?
I have looked at all the information that the investigators who investigated this case have provided to run out credible leads.
And in the Epstein file, was there that creepy birthday message that Donald Trump had written to Epstein?
No, that's what I was trying to tell you. You raise a great point. The estate of Jeffrey Epstein has a voluminous amount of information that they have not released before.
Okay, so that's great. So wouldn't it be great if FBI subpoenaed the estate of Jeffrey Epstein for all that information?
The estate is under no obligation to provide that material, even pursuant to a subpoena. That's a great point.
Yeah, that's just false.
Okay.
That's just false. You're the frickin' FBI.
Exactly. Not only are you the FBI, you're the FBI director, and I guarantee you can get a judge to sign off on a warrant or get a subpoena to commandeer anything in Jeffrey Epstein's estate.
you can subpoena the information from the state, and you better do that. I'd
That's
to move
literally
on.
not how it works.
I'm going to move on now and talk about Epstein's client list. You confirmed that it exists. Attorney General Pam Bondi confirmed earlier this year that it exists. So I just want to ask you a simple question. Is Prince Andrew on Epstein's client list?
The material related to Prince Andrew has been made public.
Is Prince Andrew on the client list?
We have released the index of names that were in Jeffrey Epstein's.
Is Donald Trump on Epstein's client list?
The index has been released, and the index will speak for
So I'm
itself.
just going to say, America is a huge red flag. The FBI director could not answer whether Donald Trump was on Epstein's
Gentleman's time
client
has
list.
expired.
I
You're
yield
now
back.
recognized.
Just won't answer questions, just totally evasive about Jeffrey Epstein.
Ladies and gentlemen, I now have acquired proof that the
we're gonna go to Kirk's assassination. New video evidence changes a whole lot based on evidence. That it's possibly that young man that I was suggesting for a long time, that the young man that they have in custody, I was suggesting this. I'm not saying emphatically that it's true, but I'm suggesting my mind frame of thinking, because they always find a fall guy, a patsy, when they do these assassinations. I'm not going to say it's a political assassination. The only thing that make this assassination political, that politicians are involved. Charlie Kirk was not a political figure, but it's some bloodsuckers, politicians involved in it.
FBI's official story is false, whether knowingly or unknowingly. We're going to have an entire monologue and talk about a lot of these things after I show you this. But if you take nothing else away from this video, you need to see this.
And in that video, you can see the same, what appears to be the bullet coming down, and it does line up with the actual gunshot itself. So you're not counting gang violence. Great.
So this video was created by a friend of mine who is a Marine. You'll see him here at the end. This is the angle he is showing the shot coming from, showing where Charlie was sitting, and the angle of the shot, which will correspond with this video here, which unfortunately we will blur out Charlie's face, but we will show what is necessary to prove that this was an entry and exit wound. So you'll see him circle the highlighted area right there, and you'll see the exit wound corresponding after, split second after, as it would from an entry and exit wound. So in this footage, you can clearly see that Charlie is shot from his back right, and there's blood splatter coming out of the entry wound immediately after a shot. The first arc is kind of down, as if it's just gushing out from the entry wound. And then the second shot corresponds with when his head kind of snaps forward, that fluid then flips up in relation to that motion. So you can see there's that second splatter flipping up into the air. This is something that I hadn't seen to this date. I saw this for the first time late in the evening yesterday, and I decided that this needed to be put out immediately because no one that I know of is talking about this. So big shout out to my friend who actually found this and created this video. You'll see him here in just a moment, but let's just one more time look at this shot. You see bullet comes in that circled area. You have the blood splatter go down, then up, and then immediately after, you see the exit right here with the skin being pierced, and then the exit wound emerges. And again, that is not a far distance for a bullet to travel, whatever the caliber is, whether it be 5.56, 308, 30-06. It's not even a debate at this point. It doesn't matter what caliber killed him. What matters is that the official narrative is not true. Again, whether the FBI knows or not that they're lying, but this is 100%.
I don't like the way that sounds, whether the FBI knows that they're lying. In order for you to lie, you have to know the truth, or it's not lying. If they're lying outright. Now, I can understand if they didn't have the knowledge of what happened, then being that this guy is giving us the correct information, it will make them incompetent. So if they're lying outright, and they know they're lying. So there's no such thing as someone's lying. They can be misinformed, but if you're lying, you're lying. There's no lying without knowing that you're lying.
% conclusive evidence that Charlie Kirk was shot in the back of the head, and it exited through the front of his throat. All of the evidence points to Charlie being shot from his back right. Now, including this little blood splatter that we can see here against the white backdrop, the extreme hemorrhaging from the front of his neck, which again corresponds with an exit wound, the extreme loss of blood. No matter what the caliber is, that distance, that amount of meat is not enough for most bullets to expand. I mean, 99.9% of bullets will not expand in that short distance. Most of them require 12 to 14 to 16 inches even sometimes of tissue to expand properly. Also, Charlie tensing up correlates and proves that he was hit in his spine. That's a spinal injury. Any of the game that I've shot in the neck or in the high vitals where you impact the spine, the game usually drops right in its tracks because you sever the spinal cord. This is, again, exactly what we see with Charlie. He tenses up. His head movement also correlates with being shot in the back of the head. His head snaps forward, and then he tenses up, and you see him fade away, drop the mic, and was absolutely traumatizing video footage. And I'm sorry to have to show you guys this again, but this needs to be seen and talked about because this is going to be suppressed in the algorithm. So make sure you share this with any of your friends, your family members. Save this video, whatever you need to do. So this video was actually provided to the channel by a friend of mine who is a Marine, and I forgot to show you the end of the video here. So this is my friend who actually made the video. I want to just give him a shout out. I will link his socials down in the description below. Again, he is the one who brought this to my attention. This is his video. He created this. He did the drawings on it, and he sent it to me to allow me to use it to show you guys what we're talking about. So he says, I have been shot many times, 3 times to be exact, and I know exit and entry wounds. I have extensive firearms training inside the Marines and the civilian world as well. It appears that Charlie was shot in the back right side of his head, and the bullet exited through his neck.
Gonna move on. I'm not gonna spend too much time on that, but I'm going to go to a debate that he lost terribly.
A project of DEI at United Airlines was that we want to get 40% of our pilots to be.
This dude lost terribly this debate against this young lady. She mopped the floor with him.
A project of DEI at United Airlines was that we want to get 40% of our pilots to be black or women of color, or women or people of.
Salute to my Jersey brethren, Warfare Cave, brother. Hope all is well with you and your family.
Color.
40%.
50. I'm sorry, to get up to 50.
Hi, Charlie. Yeah, you're gonna have to lower that one for me.
What's your name again?
Thank you, Naima. How are you
Naima,
doing?
it's been a while.
It's been a minute. How have you been?
Great.
That's fantastic. You did do that. I mean, you didn't, but Trump did. Yes.
The collective we. Yeah.
Yes, the collective we. So speaking of Trump, I do want to talk a little bit about his policy on DEI. As you know, in his first weeks in office, he signed the executive order declaring that DEI is both unlawful and a threat to national unity. And I just kind of want to ask you to elaborate on why DEI is unlawful.
Well, based on the Civil Rights Act, which I have disagreements with, but based on the Civil Rights Act, which is the law.
She's going to obliterate him. He's going to be evasive, and he's going to actually choke up because she had him on the ropes, and he's going to show his lack of logic and understanding of law, just understanding altogether.
The law of the land. It says you shall not discriminate based on color, race, creed, or origin of nationality.
Yes.
And DEI definitionally does those things.
How does it definitionally do those things?
So, for example, if you say you are going to hire a certain amount of people or have scholarships only for a certain people, you are then prejudicing against another group.
Which group are you prejudiced?
So white people, Asians as well. I mean, white people are an easy one off the top of your head. So, for example, in the Harvard admissions case, I said this earlier, the average test score for a black individual was around 1,300 SAT, about 3.2 GPA. For a white or Asian, it would be about a 3.9 to 4 GPA and about nearly a perfect SAT. So you are disenfranchising and stereotyping and prejudicing against whites or Asians in favor of blacks.
You're not prejudicing against whites or Asians, though, because DEI is not on a race basis. DEI stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion of all people. Affirmative.
Got him. He don't know the difference between DEI and affirmative action. DEI is not race-based. You don't even know the difference.
Action is what is intended to address racial inequality. But DEI isn't on the basis of race.
Well, so DEI is a project of the affirmative action movement. So one comes
is not outright lying. The truth have to be in you to come out of you. And this dude's lying. One have nothing to do with the other.
for the other. He signed an executive order against both, for the record. So I wasn't sure which one you were talking
I'm
about.
talking about DEI.
So DEI, it depends what.
You're not sure what she was just talking about when she said DEI and you repeated DEI, but you said you wasn't sure which one you were talking about when you clearly said DEI and you attempted to give a definition of what it meant. If you are in your 30s and you don't know what DEI, you can't distinguish DEI from affirmative action, you shouldn't be in the debate. As a matter of fact, stay inside. Don't even come outside.
What we mean in practice. So I can give you one example. There are Black-only graduation ceremonies at certain schools, or Black-only dormitories.
That's a
But
lie.
those are kind of student-led.
It's a lie.
I mean,
Hold on,
I'm
but
part
let-
of a Black
That's a
organization,
lie.
and
So-
it's run by students. It's not
Fair
through
enough.
the school.
Let's play it out. So if there is a Black-only, let's pretend, which it's not, that building is Black-only. If I said that, if that building
No
was
such
white,
thing as that.
no, I said
No,
let's
okay.
pretend it's
Yes,
not.
hypothetically, yes.
Hypothetically, if that building was white only, you would agree that's a violation of the Civil Rights Act.
Yes, but there
Hold
are
on,
no
but-
buildings on campus that are Black only and white only.
Well,
and by the way,
but there are on other campuses.
no,
though.
but in
No,
those
it's not. It's a lie.
dormitories that are like culturally specific, you don't have to be that culture to live there. They're not going to not allow you to be Black to live in a Black dormitory.
you would
no,
be, you'd be
Ujima at
surprised.
Stanford. White people do live at Ujima. That's not.
I don't know about that specific example, but if it says Black-only dormitory,
But it doesn't say Black only.
But okay, how about this? How about if we had what it does?
It
But
doesn't. Where?
can't-
Where does
just
it
to
say
be-
that?
Just to be
Now he's going into I'm white and I say so. This the mode he's going into now. I'm white and I say so.
clear, well, in the title, but let's
No,
pretend
but
it says
where?
Black.
Like what school? Where does it say Black only building?
Eastern Washington University, Portland State University, just off the top of my head, San Jose State University.
They say Black only dormitory.
It-
And if a
it's-
white
it's
person were to apply to
it's a
live there,
it's a Black affinity
they would
cultural
not-
space of which only Black individuals are accepted and governed for Black individuals. But can
Lie. That's a lie.
we have white affinity cultural spaces?
you can have a white affinity cultural space. The activity is the issue is
See,
that
I
you're
think
saying
that's
Black.
against
The activity is based on our culture, but everybody's welcome. Just like if you had, it's just like going to a damn museum because it's white artifacts in there. Black people can't go in. If you're interested in the information, you go in and get the information. This dude is clueless.
Civil Rights
Only.
Act.
It's not Black only. It's a Black affinity cultural space, but anyone is invited if they would like to participate.
I would first of all
You
I'm white and I
cannot
say so. Go ahead and say it.
Not
I agree.
allow someone of any race to participate in
no,
something that doesn't exist.
We agree. That's the spirit of the diversity, equity, inclusion order. Is that DEI in practice? Again, we have to go through example after example. Is discrimination, prejudice,
Well,
and
let's talk
segregation.
about DEI in practice. Let's
Okay.
talk about DEI programs in the workforce, because DEI programs in the workforce happen to benefit veterans. They benefit people with disabilities. They benefit
Exactly.
people at an economic desperate. They benefit lots of people that is not just on the basis of race. And to me, it feels like you're conflating DEI with pro-blackness or Black only,
So
which is
let's-
not the definition of DEI.
So let's take a high-profile DEI example. Is that cool? Just maybe one we can play around with.
Okay.
Which I got me in a lot of
You're
viral
trying to
trouble.
win, trying to win at
Which is
debate,
pilots.
losing.
I got in a lot
Got
of
him on the
viral trouble
ropes.
too. I
Hey.
was debating this guy,
I
you know.
and you kept interrupting you.
He did.
I know, right? Which is that let's say DEI. A project of DEI at United Airlines was that we want to get 40% of our pilots to be Black or women of color, or women or people of color.
40%.
50. I'm sorry, to get up to 50. It was at like 6%. So therefore, they wanted to make a push towards that, and it was currently at 6%. We look at that and we say, "Wow, you're going to have to lower standards to get to that goal."
Why would you have to lower standards?
That's racist.
Well, because-
Are you saying that Black people are
No,
inherently
That's racist.
inferior?
I'm saying the opposite. I'm saying
That's
that
racist.
Black people are only 13% of the population. So you want 13% of the population.
Women are not 13% of the population. Women are 50% of the
Yeah,
population.
but women do not make up a majority of people that want to become pilots. In fact, Vast majority of women don't want to be pilots.
Maybe they would want to become pilots if the barriers for entry
Well,
weren't.
see that now we're going down a different but equally fun direction, which is male-female differences. Men much more likely want to be involved in heavy machinery mechanics. They want to be pilots. They want to be tank operators. They want to be police officers. Whereas women much more likely want to be, I'll get to you, Mason. Don't worry. And I remember your name.
Yes, can Mason go? They won't let him go because he's
I'll
not
let Mason
USC.
go. I'll
There
let
we
Mason go. But just, Mason, have some patience. We did this last time, okay? But do you understand, at least from our perspective, because it's no good for us to go back and forth again, maybe from our perspective, that we worry that the pursuit of diversity can mean the compromising of excellence.
Charlie Kirk, this country is diverse. You can't just say the pursuit of diversity is compromising excellence. Diversity literally
What a
just means
clueless
difference.
asshole.
This country is 13% black. It's 14% immigrant. It's 1/5 of every person.
We need to stop saying that we are 13% of the population. That's been said as long as I've been here. Almost 60 years they've been saying we're 13% of the population. We see our families growing. They only have 1 and 2 children. We're having more children than they are. And they are worried about the browning of America. If there's a browning of America, they worry about their population and their place in the society because of the browning of America. There's no way we're still 13% of the population. There's no way. We have more children. We have 6, 7, 8. Some of us have 17 children. I know families that got 17 siblings. Mother and father had 17 kids. White people don't have kids like that. We do.
In this country is Hispanic. It's 7% homosexual, and 50% of the country disagrees with you.
Okay,
Diversity is America. You cannot say
all of that is true.
You
Hold on.
are America first if you do not care about half of America.
I care about them so much, in fact.
You care about them so much that you don't want to give them
I didn't interrupt you.
access
I care
to
about
equal rights.
Well, hold on. No one said rights. Hold on a second. No. I care about them.
It's equal rights. It's
Naima,
equal
let me
access.
finish. Now, who's interrupting who? I care about them so much. I want the only thing that they're ever judged on is to be their character or their competency, not their skin color.
Okay, so you want it to be a meritocracy.
Yes.
So let's talk about a meritocracy.
Okay.
What experience does Kash Patel have to run the FBI?
He has amazing experience.
No,
In
he
fact,
doesn't. He wanted to start a UFC fighting
He has
program
amazing
at the FBI.
experience. I got 5 words in. He was the most important thing. He was a public defender.
That's not what that's not the job of the FBI. He has no experience in the FBI.
He was a public defender and he was a special prosecutor.
Was he ever a member of the FBI?
No, but
he doesn't have the merit.
So he's not qualified. So he's not qualified.
What experience does Linda McMahon have to run?
He just contradicted himself because he will be considered DEI. If you're so against DEI, why is Kash Patel the FBI director? She got him on the road.
She ran the Small Business Administration in the first term, which is a big organization. She was the head of the SBA.
When she was the CEO of WWE,
I'm not going to talk about that. She ran the SBA.
One of her employees was engaging in pedophilic behavior with their ring boys under her watch.
I'm not going to defend that.
And now she is somehow qualified to be responsible for all of America's children?
Hold on a second. She was previously a cabinet secretary and then became a different cabinet secretary. That's like a 1-to-1.
Yeah, and then before that, she was enabling a pedophile.
So what you're first of all, I don't know about that instance. If that's true, that's wrong.
That's very much true. How do you not know about that, Charlie?
I don't know about
very much.
Okay. Again,
public information. It's really important to know that the head of the Department of Education is currently in a lawsuit.
But let me finish the point, which is that the WWE can be easily made fun of. That's a serious business, though. It's a multi-billion-dollar business.
It is, that engaged in pedophilic activity.
Of which I denounce. I don't support that. However, she was head of the SBA, and now she's head of the Department of Education. Tell me another unqualified person.
Another unqualified person?
Marco Rubio
Hegseth.
Okay.
No, actually, I think Marco is slightly more
Let's talk about Hegseth. He's the most qualified because he actually accepted enemy fire and lost loved ones and friends of his own.
That doesn't make you.
Hold on.
Dude.
Somebody being shot by the FBI, somebody being shot by the police doesn't give them qualifications to be okay. Being that my family was shot, I lost loved ones, so I can run the police department. This dude sounds like a damn idiot. He's a total idiot. He's an idiot.
Dude,
to run the U.S. military, to be a warrior, not just an academic general, that's very important.
Look, dude, I respect veterans. My boyfriend's a veteran. I love veterans. That being said, not every person who is a veteran is qualified to run the Department of Defense.
I think he's also shown the last couple of weeks he's doing a pretty phenomenal job.
Just because you are a soldier, it doesn't mean that you are an administrator. Some people are administrative, and some people are outright, you know, they put that work in. They go in and they do schematics. They don't know how to set up schematics, but they're able to carry out the duties. That's how you become a sergeant, a lieutenant, a captain, or a chief, or a police director. You have to be administrative. And just because you are a police officer or any type of law enforcement, even military, just because you're a soldier, it doesn't mean that you can administrate or you could send people out to actually carry out duties. Some people are better fighters than they are trainers. Some people that can fight but can't teach worth a damn. Just because you are able to fight, that don't mean you can teach.
The prior head of the DOD, Lloyd Austin, could barely climb up a flight of stairs. Pete Hegseth is up at 5 a.m. doing PT with the troops, running miles, and then doing an entire day at the Pentagon. And you might say that doesn't matter. I actually think physical fitness and being a good example to our troops is very important when you're the head of the department.
But it's about thinking. It's about the thinking, having the ability to administrate. It's not about how in shape you are, because I see a whole bunch of big hunk of junk who are mindless. Oh, this dude mindset is stupid.
Department of Defense.
Okay, but being the head of the Department of Defense is not about doing push-ups.
Hold on, but
Exactly,
first of all,
dummy.
it's actually refreshing versus Mark Milley and Lloyd Austin. But secondly, I will say the criteria is that he's a warrior's warrior. He's someone that was in the front lines and actually received medals and knows what it's like to lose loved ones. And the other people that were qualified, Naima, were people that got us in endless wars, people that
Don't mean that he can administrate. It doesn't mean that he can administrate. If you put somebody just because they lost a loved one, it's like saying, okay, I lost a loved one in the World Trade Center, so I'm going to be the head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff or the Navy or something. No, that don't qualify you because you lost somebody. It don't qualify you because you even fought in the military. It don't qualify you because you may not be able to set up schematics. You may not be able to put people where they belong as far as like on their post. If you've never done that, you have to learn to do that. But if you've never done it, how the hell, like a Cash Patel was never an FBI agent. So he shouldn't be the head of the FBI. Donald Trump talked about they want to get rid of DEI, but everybody he put in place is DEI by their standards.
that never saw combat. I think it's finally time that we have someone in combat that runs the Secretary of Defense. I think that's immensely qualified.
Okay, sure. So we'll take Pete Hegseth for Department of Defense.
Yes, he's
we'll
doing a
take
great job.
someone who enabled pedophilia for the Department of Education.
That's an unfair
We'll take Cash Patel,
categorization.
who has never worked in the FBI.
He was
to
a
be the-
prosecutor, so the FBI's a
Dude, do you remember what he said when he first got
do you
the
want to go? Do
nomination?
you want to go?
A prosecutor is a lawyer. That's what a prosecutor is a lawyer. So you go take a prosecutor who's a lawyer and put him in charge of the Federal Bureau of Investigations. He's not even an investigator. You know, a detective, a police detective is more qualified to be a police director than a goddamn prosecutor. A prosecutor's a lawyer.
I'm going to go back to Cash Patel for a
He
second.
said, yeah. I'm like, this is sick.
Okay,
That
can
is
we
an
go back to
incredible
Cash
thing
Patel,
to say.
though?
That is like
Can we go-
insanely
can we-
inappropriate.
Can we go back to Cash Patel? So he was himself a prosecutor that tried cases. That's a law enforcement mechanism. I think they're asking for someone else.
All right.
That is not a that is not the same thing. A prosecutor litigate cases. That's not law enforcement. The prosecutor litigate cases. Attorney General is law enforcement. He don't even know the difference. He don't even know the difference.
Well, guys, this is interesting. Like they say, I've always supported Charlie, especially when he goes for competence over, whatever. You see, because you see, when it comes to,
I want to hear this dude talking, about to say something stupid to piss me off. But I want to thank everybody for joining me this evening. I'm gonna land it right here. I want to thank everyone for joining me this evening. If you don't have your copy of Fire, get your copy of Fire. And Fire to the Finale is out now. Get your copy of Fire to the Finale is out now. I want to play the promo to Fire to the Finale. It's at Amazon on paperback or Kindle.
I don't know how I got here. I just know I'm never going back. Just when I thought things were already crazy, it gets worse.
I'm back.
Quan?
Sapphire struggles to deal with her husband's alleged betrayal and coming to terms with Quan being alive after thinking he was deceased. Devante tries to keep a level head while dealing with family issues and unexpected disloyalty. Memories of Dre enters Devante's life in a way that he would have never imagined.
Fire Part 2, the finale.
Now available at Amazon on paperback or Kindle. Go to books. Angela King James, get your copy of Fire. For Fire to the Finale is out now. This is the first book, Fire by Angela King James. Fire to the Finale is available now. Get yourself your copy. But I want to thank everybody for coming through. Warfare K, Straight Smoke, P. Moses, Garrison, Sharon Walker, D. Allen Warren. Thank you all for coming through. Thank the wife, the executive producer of The Enemy's Public. Thank my brother Kyrie, the head of my research department, who gets me material. I'd like to thank both of them for helping a brother out. Until next time, this is The Enemy's Public. I am Bro.Nasir. Like, share, subscribe, leave a comment in the comment section. Until next time. Yeah.
Yeah.